The sun shone softly through the tall windows of the Maplewood Animal Shelter. The quiet morning air was filled with the faint smell of soap and the soft sounds of animals stirring. Among all the animals in the shelter, one dog stood out. His name was Brutus, and he was known as the most aggressive dog in the shelter. Many people feared him, and even the staff approached him cautiously. He had a large, muscular body and sharp, alert eyes that seemed to study every movement around him. Brutus had been in the shelter for almost 2 years, and in all that time, no one had been able to earn his trust. Across town, in a small, cozy house, lived a young girl named Amara. Amara was 15 years old, and she had been paralyzed from the waist down after a car accident 2 years ago. Her days were filled with therapy, schoolwork, and long hours staring out of the window, wishing she could move freely like other kids. Despite her challenges, Amara had a quiet strength about her. She loved animals, especially dogs, and she often dreamed of having one of her own. One day, her mother noticed her staring at the shelter website again. "Amara, I think it's time," her mother said softly. "You've been wanting a dog for so long. Maybe it's time to meet one." Amara's heart raced. She had seen many dogs online, but none had touched her heart until now. The following morning, they arrived at Maplewood Animal Shelter. The building was busy, filled with volunteers, staff, and families looking for pets. Amara's mother guided her wheelchair carefully through the halls. Amara's eyes searched each kennel as they passed, stopping for a moment at a small, gentle golden retriever, then moving on to a playful little beagle. Finally, they reached the area where Brutus was kept. The staff member waiting there looked nervous as Amara approached. "I don't know if this is a good idea," she said. "Brutus is not like other dogs. He can be very dangerous. He has bitten people before. Only trained staff can handle him safely." Amara turned to her mother, her eyes shining with determination. "I don't care. I want to meet him. I just feel, I don't know, like we could understand each other." Her mother hesitated but saw the look on her daughter's face. She knew Amara had always been brave in ways most people could not understand. The staff member sighed but led them to Brutus's kennel. The massive dog was lying on the floor, his ears perked, and his eyes fixed on the newcomers. His body tensed as they approached. Amara's mother held her hand tightly, but Amara reached forward slowly, her fingers trembling. "Brutus," she whispered softly. "Hi, I'm Amara." Her voice was gentle and there was no fear in it, only kindness. Brutus growled low in his throat and took a step back, but Amara didn't move. She stayed calm, her eyes locked on his. The staff member knelt beside Amara. "Remember, don't make sudden movements. Let him come to you if he wants to." Minutes passed, and Brutus watched her cautiously. Amara spoke in soft, soothing tones, telling him about her life, about the things she loved, about how she wished she could run through the park and play with him. Brutus tilted his head. He had never heard a human speak like this. Most people approached him with fear or anger, and he had learned to respond with aggression. But Amara's voice was different. Slowly, Brutus inched closer. Amara held her hand out, her palm open and relaxed. Brutus sniffed it, and for a moment it seemed like the world had stopped. His tail twitched slightly, and Amara felt a thrill of hope. Then something unexpected happened. A loud noise from another part of the shelter startled Brutus. He barked and snapped, and Amara pulled her hand back instinctively. The staff member moved quickly to calm him, but Amara looked at Brutus and said softly, "It's okay. I'm not afraid." Her calmness seemed to reach him. Brutus lowered his head and let out a soft whine. For the first time in years, someone had not been afraid of him. For the first time, he felt a small, fragile connection with a human. Amara's mother watched silently, her heart filled with hope and worry at the same time. She had never seen her daughter so alive, so full of determination and courage. The staff member looked at Amara. "You might be the only person who could ever reach him, but we have to be careful. Brutus is still very unpredictable." Amara nodded, understanding the risk but feeling that this was the beginning of something important. Over the next hour, Amara and Brutus began a slow process of trust. She spoke to him, gently brushed her hand along his fur while he cautiously allowed it, and even laughed softly when he rolled his eyes in a way that seemed almost human. Brutus was still wary, but his growls lessened, replaced by low whines and curious sniffing. Amara's mother watched, tears in her eyes. "I think he likes you," she whispered. Amara smiled but didn't take her eyes off Brutus. She knew that trust was fragile, and one wrong move could undo everything. By the end of their visit, the shelter staff agreed to a trial period. Amara's family could take Brutus home for a few days to see how he adjusted. It was an unusual decision, and the staff warned them repeatedly. But Amara had touched something in Brutus that no one else had. On the drive home, Amara sat quietly in her wheelchair, her eyes on the back of Brutus's head as he settled into the car. He was still tense, still alert, but she felt a spark of hope. She imagined their life together, the walks in the park she might never run but could still enjoy, the quiet evenings with a dog who might finally trust her. That night, as Brutus explored their home cautiously, Amara watched him from her chair. She spoke to him softly, telling him about her room, about the garden, about the world outside that he would see with her one day. Brutus listened, laying down nearby but keeping one eye on her. Amara smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. She knew the journey had just begun, but she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. For both of them, the next days would be full of challenges, discoveries, and moments that would change them forever. And somewhere deep inside, Brutus felt it too. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. The next morning, Amara woke up with a feeling of excitement and nervousness. Today would be the first full day she and Brutus spent together at home. Her mother helped her into the wheelchair and guided her to the living room, where Brutus was already sitting, watching her with alert eyes. He had spent the night in the corner of the room, close enough to see her but far enough to feel safe. Amara spoke softly to him. "Good morning, Brutus. Did you sleep well?" She smiled as he tilted his head and let out a low, approving whine. It was a small sound, but to Amara it felt like a greeting, a sign that Brutus recognized her. Her mother had prepared the day carefully. The living room was arranged so that Brutus could move freely without bumping into furniture, and all the small items that could startle him were put away. Amara's therapy equipment was ready, and she had a basket of his favorite toys and treats nearby. At first, Brutus was cautious. He sniffed every corner of the room, his ears flicking at every sound. Amara watched quietly, letting him take the lead. She remembered what the shelter staff had said. The key was patience. Trust could not be forced. After a while, Brutus approached her slowly, sitting a few feet away and looking at her with his steady eyes. Amara reached out, holding a soft chew toy in her lap. "Do you want this?" she asked gently. Brutus sniffed the toy, then looked back at her. Hesitating for a moment, he took it in his mouth carefully, holding it as if it were precious. Amara laughed quietly, the sound warm and happy. For hours, they spent time together in a delicate rhythm. Amara spoke to him, sometimes telling stories, sometimes singing softly, and Brutus listened, responding with small gestures, a tail wag, a soft whine, a gentle nudge with his nose. The house was filled with a quiet energy, a connection growing stronger with every passing moment. Around noon, it was time for a short walk. Her mother had set up a special wheelchair-accessible path in the garden. Amara knew Brutus was not used to walking outside without a leash in a controlled space, but she wanted him to feel freedom without fear. Carefully, she guided him with a long rope, keeping a safe distance at first. Brutus sniffed the grass, lifted his paws, and moved cautiously. Amara encouraged him softly. "It's okay, Brutus. You can go slowly. You're safe here." For the first time, he ran a few steps forward, then stopped, looking back at her with a mix of curiosity and caution. Amara clapped softly and praised him. "Good boy, Brutus. You are doing so well." After the walk, they returned to the house. Brutus lay down near Amara's wheelchair, resting his head gently against the side. Amara reached out and stroked his fur, feeling the warmth and strength of his body. "I think we can be friends," she whispered. Brutus closed his eyes as if agreeing and let out a contented sigh. The days that followed were filled with small victories. Brutus learned to respond to Amara's voice, to follow her gestures, and even to come when she called. He was still cautious around strangers, still aggressive if someone approached him too quickly, but with Amara he was gentle. She taught him patience, and in return he taught her courage. One afternoon, Amara decided to introduce Brutus to the therapy exercises she did every day. With her mother's help, she guided him through a series of gentle movements. At first, Brutus was confused, unsure what she wanted. But as she repeated the motions and praised him for small efforts, he began to mimic her. He lifted a paw when she lifted hers. He followed her movements with his head, and by the end of the session, he seemed to understand that these exercises were part of a game. Her mother watched with amazement. "I have never seen him behave like this," she said. "You are bringing out something in him that no one else could." Amara smiled, feeling proud but also humbled. She knew that Brutus's trust was fragile and that every gesture mattered. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Amara wheeled herself to the porch. Brutus followed, his large shadow stretching across the wooden floor. The air was warm and the birds chirped softly in the distance. Amara leaned forward and spoke quietly. "Brutus, do you know that I am happy? I never thought I would feel this way again." Brutus sat beside her, resting his head gently on her lap. Amara felt a tear slip down her cheek, but it was a tear of joy. She had never imagined that a dog could make her feel so alive, so understood. Brutus's presence was more than companionship. It was a bridge to a world she had thought was closed to her. The next day brought a challenge. A delivery man came to the door and Brutus barked loudly, growling and showing his teeth. Amara stayed calm, speaking softly to him. But the dog's instinct to protect was strong. Her mother stepped forward and tried to guide Brutus away, but he resisted. Amara realized that this was a critical moment. She took a deep breath and wheeled herself closer. "Brutus, it's okay. He is not a threat. I am here." Her voice was steady, full of patience and authority. Slowly, Brutus's growl softened. He lowered his head and allowed the delivery man to leave the package without incident. Amara's mother watched in awe. "You really understand him," she said. "He listens to you when no one else can reach him." Amara smiled quietly, knowing that trust was the most powerful tool she had. As the week went on, Amara and Brutus grew inseparable. They shared quiet moments reading books, playing gentle games, and sitting together in the garden. Brutus even began to show signs of affection that no one had ever seen before. He nudged her hand for attention, leaned against her wheelchair, and sometimes rested his head in her lap while she spoke softly to him. One rainy afternoon, Amara watched the drops slide down the window. Brutus sat beside her, his fur damp from a quick walk outside. "You know, Brutus," she said, "I used to think my life was limited. I thought I would never run, never feel free. But having you here makes me feel like anything is possible." Brutus looked at her, his eyes soft and trusting. In that moment, Amara realized something powerful. The bond between them was more than friendship. It was healing. For her, Brutus was more than a dog. He was a companion who understood her courage and mirrored her patience. For him, Amara was more than a human. She was the first person who had reached inside his heart and shown him kindness without fear. By the end of the week, the shelter staff called to check on Brutus. They were amazed at the transformation. "He is calm, obedient, and gentle with your daughter," the staff member said. "We didn't think this could happen. You've done something extraordinary." Amara felt a quiet pride, but she knew the journey was only beginning. Brutus still had fears, still had moments of aggression, and the world outside their home could be unpredictable. But she also knew that together, they could face any challenge. That night, as Amara and Brutus lay in the living room, she whispered to him, "We are going to have many adventures, you and I, and one day everyone will see how amazing you are." Brutus rested his head against her lap, and for the first time he seemed to understand the promise. And so, the bond between the paralyzed girl and the most aggressive dog began to grow stronger, built on trust, patience, and an unspoken understanding that they would face the world together, no matter what challenges came their way. The weekend arrived, and with it, a new adventure for Amara and Brutus. For the first time since Brutus had come to live with her, they would go outside the home together in a place beyond the safety of their garden. Amara's mother had arranged a visit to a quiet park nearby, a space where Brutus could explore without feeling threatened by too many strangers. Amara's heart beat fast with excitement as she prepared her wheelchair and gathered Brutus's leash, a soft harness, and a small bag of treats. Brutus seemed to sense the change. He paced lightly, sniffing the air, his ears alert and tail held high. Amara spoke to him in her soft, steady voice. "We're going to have fun, Brutus. It will be okay. Just stay close to me." Brutus looked at her, his dark eyes full of attention and curiosity, and gave a small bark, almost as if agreeing. The drive to the park was quiet. Brutus sat in the back of the car, his head leaning slightly against the door as he watched the world pass by. Amara's mother kept an eye on both of them, noticing how Brutus's body language had already changed in a few short weeks. The tension and aggression that had once defined him were now replaced by alertness, curiosity, and a cautious trust. When they arrived at the park, Amara felt a thrill of freedom. The grass stretched wide, dotted with flowers and trees, and the soft sunlight filtered through the leaves. Brutus hesitated for a moment at the edge of the pathway, sniffing the fresh air. Amara gently held his leash and encouraged him forward. "Come on, Brutus. Let's see the park together." Step by step, Brutus followed. He walked beside her wheelchair, matching her pace. Occasionally, he would stop to sniff the grass or examine a tree, but he always returned to her side. Amara laughed quietly, feeling a joy she hadn't experienced in years. "You're amazing, Brutus," she said. "Look at you exploring the world." As they moved further into the park, Brutus's senses were overwhelmed by new smells and sounds. Birds chirped in the trees, a squirrel ran along a branch above, and the wind carried unfamiliar scents from far away. Amara noticed his tension rise slightly. "It's okay," she whispered. "I am here. Nothing will hurt us." Slowly, Brutus relaxed again, realizing that the girl beside him was not afraid. They reached a quiet clearing with soft grass, perfect for a break. Amara reached into her bag and pulled out a small ball. "Do you want to play?" she asked. Brutus's ears perked, and for a moment he seemed unsure. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he nudged the ball with his nose and pushed it toward her. Amara clapped her hands and laughed, delighted by his playful spirit. For the next hour they played together. Brutus rolled the ball back and forth with his nose, chased it a few steps, and then returned to her side. Passers-by paused to watch the girl and her dog, amazed at the bond they shared. Amara felt proud, but she also felt a deep sense of peace. For the first time in a long while, she truly felt part of the world, not limited by her wheelchair or by her fears. After a while, Brutus's attention shifted to a small path leading to the nearby pond. His body tensed slightly and he sniffed the air, alert to every sound. Amara noticed his caution. "Do you want to go there?" she asked softly. Brutus looked at her, then at the path, then back at her. With a small nod of his head, he began walking slowly, following her lead. As they approached the pond, Amara's mother reminded them to be careful. "Brutus, remember your leash," she said. Brutus paused but stayed close to Amara, his trust in her guiding his steps. The pond was peaceful, with a few ducks gliding across the water and lily pads floating on the surface. Brutus sat beside Amara, watching the ducks with a quiet fascination. Amara reached out and stroked his head. "You see, Brutus, the world isn't so scary when we face it together." Suddenly, a group of children ran past, laughing loudly. Brutus's ears flicked and he growled softly, a reflex from his past fear of strangers. Amara spoke immediately, her voice calm but firm. "It's okay, Brutus. They are just playing. You are safe." Slowly, Brutus's growl faded. He looked at her, his eyes seeking reassurance, and then relaxed again. Amara smiled, proud of the progress they had made. They spent the afternoon exploring the park. Brutus learned to follow her commands, not just at home, but in a place full of distractions. He learned to trust her voice, to respond to her gestures, and to remain calm even when faced with uncertainty. Amara discovered new ways to communicate with him, using her hands, her voice, and her quiet confidence to guide him. At one point, they found a small bench under a large oak tree. Amara rested, letting Brutus lie beside her. She spoke softly to him about her dreams, her fears, and her life before the accident. Brutus listened, his head resting gently on her lap. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting patterns of light and shadow over them. It was a perfect moment of connection, the kind that cannot be taught or forced. It could only be earned through trust and patience. As the sun began to set, Amara realized it was time to return home. Brutus followed her back to the car, calmer now than he had ever been in a public space. Her mother looked at them with admiration. "You've done something remarkable," she said. "He trusts you completely, even in a place full of strangers and distractions." On the drive home, Brutus rested beside Amara. She reached out to stroke his fur, feeling the warmth and softness beneath her fingers. "We're a team, Brutus," she said quietly. No matter where we go, we'll face it together. Brutus lifted his head briefly, nuzzling her hand as if to agree. That night, back at home, Amara and Brutus settled into their familiar routine. They played gently with his toys, practiced some training exercises, and then rested together. Amara felt a profound sense of gratitude. Brutus had changed her life in ways she could never have imagined. He had given her companionship, trust, and the courage to face the world outside her home. But Amara also knew that challenges still lay ahead. Brutus's past aggression could resurface. Strangers could trigger his fear, and new situations might test their bond. Yet she felt ready. Together they had begun to conquer the world, one small step at a time. As Amara closed her eyes that night, she whispered, "Tomorrow, we will explore more, Brutus. We will see the world together, and nothing will stop us." Brutus rested his head against her lap, breathing softly, a silent promise of loyalty and trust, and so, the paralyzed girl and the most aggressive dog continued their journey, learning from each other, growing stronger with every moment, and discovering that the bond between them was more than friendship. It was hope, courage, and the beginning of a life full of possibility. A few weeks had passed since Amara and Brutus had first ventured to the park. Their bond had grown stronger with every day. Brutus no longer barked at the mailman, no longer lunged at strangers from a distance, and his trust in Amara seemed unshakable. But life, as it often does, had a way of testing them when they least expected it. One Saturday morning, Amara's mother suggested they take Brutus to a nearby forest trail. "It's quiet, and there are fewer people," she said. "It will be good for both of you to explore somewhere new." Amara's heart raced. She loved adventures, but she knew that Brutus, despite all his progress, could react unpredictably in unfamiliar surroundings. "Okay," Amara said with determination. "We can do this. Together." She packed a small bag with treats, a water bottle, and a first aid kit just in case. Brutus watched intently as she prepared, his ears twitching at the sounds of rustling bags and zippers. When they arrived at the forest trail, Brutus hesitated at the edge of the path. The trees loomed tall, casting long shadows, and the air was filled with the scent of earth and leaves. Amara knelt slightly in her wheelchair, her hand extended. "It's okay, Brutus, I am here. We are safe together." Slowly, Brutus stepped onto the path. He sniffed the ground carefully, then looked up at Amara for reassurance. She smiled, speaking softly. "That's it. Take your time. No rush." Together they moved along the trail, Amara's mother walking a few steps behind to keep an eye on them. For the first hour, everything went smoothly. Brutus explored the trail, stopping occasionally to sniff a tree or watch a bird fly past. Amara spoke to him constantly, her voice calm and steady. "See that, Brutus? That bird isn't dangerous, it's just flying. We can watch it together." Brutus wagged his tail lightly, a small sign of his growing comfort in the new environment. But the forest trail had hidden surprises. As they moved deeper, the path narrowed and the sound of rushing water grew louder. A fallen branch blocked part of the trail, and Brutus stopped abruptly. He growled low in his throat, his body tense, ears back. Amara felt a surge of concern but stayed calm. "It's okay, Brutus. We will find a way around it. I am here with you." Suddenly, a small animal, a fox, quick and startled, darted across the trail in front of Brutus. His instinct to chase took over, and before Amara could react, he lunged forward, pulling slightly on the leash. Amara called his name, her voice firm but gentle. "Brutus, stop. Listen to me." For a moment, Brutus froze, torn between the urge to chase and the trust he had in Amara. Slowly, he turned back, his eyes meeting hers. She reached out, patting his head and speaking softly. "Good boy, Brutus, you remembered. You came back to me. I am proud of you." The tension melted, replaced by relief. Brutus's tail wagged, and he lowered his body slightly, lying near her wheelchair. Amara's mother exhaled deeply. "You handled that perfectly," she said. "He could have run, but he listened to you." They continued along the trail more carefully. Amara noticed that Brutus was now alert to every sound, every movement. She praised him constantly, giving him treats for calm behavior and gentle nudges of encouragement. Each step built their trust further. After some time, they reached a small clearing with a wooden bridge over a narrow stream. Brutus hesitated at the bridge, sniffing the air and looking down at the water. "It's okay, Brutus. We can go slowly," Amara said. She moved forward slightly, showing him it was safe. Slowly, Brutus stepped onto the bridge, one paw at a time. Amara followed, keeping her voice steady, praising him with every careful step. Halfway across, a branch from a nearby tree snapped under the wind. Brutus startled, his body stiffening, and he barked loudly. Amara's heart skipped a beat, but she remained calm. "Brutus, it's okay. I am here. Nothing will hurt us." Her words, full of quiet authority, reached him. He lowered his body, took a deep breath, and continued across the bridge. On the other side, Brutus ran to a patch of soft grass, lying down briefly, and looking back at Amara with bright, trusting eyes. She laughed softly, feeling a deep sense of pride. "You did it, Brutus. You were brave, and you trusted me." The walk back along the trail was calmer. Brutus had grown more confident but stayed close to Amara, his focus on her and her mother. She spoke to him about the trees, the birds, and the small animals they saw from a distance. Brutus listened, following her voice and her calm instructions. When they returned home, Amara was exhausted but exhilarated. Brutus lay beside her wheelchair, his body relaxed and his breathing even. "We made it," she said softly, running her hand along his fur. "Together, we can do anything." Brutus nudged her hand, a small gesture that meant more than words could say. The next day brought another test of their bond. A neighbor, Mr. Harris, had come to the door with his young grandson. Brutus, protective as ever, barked loudly at the sight of the unfamiliar people. Amara remained calm, speaking gently. "Brutus, it's okay. They are friends. They mean no harm." The boy stepped forward cautiously, holding out a small toy car. Brutus growled softly, but did not move forward aggressively. Amara encouraged him, praising each calm reaction. Slowly, Brutus sniffed the boy's hand, then the toy, and finally allowed the boy to pat his head. Amara's mother watched, amazed at the transformation. "You've done something extraordinary, Amara," she said. "Brutus trusts you completely, and now he is learning to trust others too." Amara smiled, knowing that their work was far from over, but feeling proud of the progress they had made. In the evenings, Amara and Brutus developed new routines. They practiced gentle exercises in the living room, went for walks in the garden, and spent quiet moments reading together. Brutus had become more than a pet. He was a teacher, a friend, and a companion who mirrored Amara's courage and patience. One night, as the wind rustled outside, Amara whispered to him, "Tomorrow we will try a new trail. We will face new challenges, and I know we can do it together." Brutus rested his head on her lap, his body warm and steady. He had learned something that few others could teach him, that trust could heal fear, and that love could transform even the most guarded hearts. Amara knew that life with Brutus would not always be easy. There would be moments of fear, of hesitation, of testing limits. But she also knew that together, they could face anything. Their bond had become unbreakable, built on patience, courage, and a shared understanding that each step forward was a victory. And so, the paralyzed girl and the most aggressive dog faced the world together, one challenge at a time, discovering the strength that comes from trust, the power of patience, and the extraordinary connection that can exist between a human and a dog. It was a bright Saturday morning when Amara decided to take Brutus to the city park for the first time. The park was large, bustling with people, children playing, dogs running freely, and families enjoying the sunny day. Amara felt a mixture of excitement and worry. She knew Brutus had grown more confident, but this was a new environment, full of unpredictable noises, strangers, and other dogs. "Are you ready, Brutus?" Amara asked softly, adjusting the leash on his harness. Brutus looked at her with his steady eyes as if he understood the importance of today. He gave a small low bark and nudged her hand with his nose. That small gesture gave Amara courage. The moment they entered the park, Brutus paused. The sounds of children laughing, dogs barking, and music from a nearby playground were overwhelming. He pulled slightly at the leash, alert and tense. Amara stayed calm, speaking gently. "It's okay, Brutus. I am here. We will go slowly. Trust me." Step by step, they moved forward. Brutus's ears flicked at every sound, but he stayed close to Amara. She praised him with every calm reaction. "Good boy, Brutus. You are doing so well." With every step, his confidence grew, and Amara felt her own excitement build. She imagined the two of them walking freely, enjoying the park together, and finally showing the world how brave they both could be. Suddenly, a young boy ran past, chasing a frisbee. Brutus barked loudly, his instinct to protect Amara kicking in. Amara immediately spoke in a firm but gentle voice. "Brutus, calm down. They are playing. You are safe. I am here." Brutus's body stiffened, but he turned to look at her. Slowly his growl faded. He remembered the trust they had built, and he relaxed, staying by her side. They continued walking along a path lined with flowers and trees. Brutus occasionally sniffed the ground, sometimes sitting beside Amara as if to check in. People noticed the pair, and some approached cautiously. Amara smiled, speaking to each one gently, explaining that Brutus had been aggressive in the past but was learning to trust humans. Many visitors watched in awe as the once feared dog now followed Amara's lead with care and patience. In the middle of the park, they reached a small playground near a pond. Children were playing and feeding ducks, and a group of dogs ran freely nearby. Brutus's body tensed again, his eyes fixed on one of the larger dogs. Amara noticed immediately. She reached out and spoke softly. "It's okay, Brutus. That dog is friendly. We are safe. Trust me." Slowly, Brutus relaxed, taking her words seriously. He even wagged his tail slightly, a sign of his growing confidence in public spaces. As they moved closer to the pond, Brutus suddenly stopped. A duck had waddled near the path, quacking loudly. Brutus growled softly, his body stiff. Amara stayed calm, placing her hand gently on his neck. "It's okay, Brutus, see? The duck is not dangerous. I am right here." She waited patiently, letting him process the situation. Brutus sniffed the air, then glanced back at her. With a small whine, he stepped aside, allowing the duck to pass. Amara felt a rush of pride. "Good boy, Brutus. You are brave and you trusted me. That is amazing." Brutus nudged her hand, leaning gently against her wheelchair. The bond between them had grown unbreakable. But just as they were about to leave the pond, a sudden commotion broke out. A child had fallen into the water, splashing and crying for help. People shouted in panic, and Brutus's body tensed immediately. His protective instincts surged. Amara's heart pounded, but she remained calm. "Brutus, listen to me. We can help her, but you must stay with me. We can do this together." Brutus's eyes met hers, and in that moment he understood. He had faced fear and learned to trust her completely. Carefully, Amara guided her wheelchair to the edge of the pond, and Brutus followed. The child struggled in the shallow water, crying and scared. Without hesitation, Brutus moved closer, his body steady, ready to protect. Amara extended her hand. "Reach for me, sweetheart. I am here." The child grabbed her hand, and Brutus stayed close, his presence calming the child. Slowly, with Brutus at her side, Amara helped the child out of the water. The parents ran over, thanking them both. Brutus barked softly, wagging his tail. He had remained calm, steady, and brave in a situation that could have been dangerous. Amara's mother ran to them, tears in her eyes. "You both were amazing. Brutus, you saved her. And Amara, you stayed calm and guided him perfectly." Amara felt her chest swell with pride. Brutus rested his head against her lap, his dark eyes shining with loyalty and trust. The crowd around them clapped softly, moved by what they had just witnessed. People had seen Brutus, the dog everyone had feared, act with courage and gentleness. And they had seen Amara, the girl who could not walk, lead him with patience, love, and understanding. Together, they had changed the hearts of everyone who watched. After the excitement, they returned home both tired but happy. Brutus lay beside Amara's wheelchair, his head resting gently on her lap. "You were incredible today," Amara whispered. "We faced fear together and we did it." Brutus nudged her hand, a silent promise that he would always protect her, as she had protected him with her love and patience. Over the next few days, the story of Amara and Brutus spread through their town. People spoke of the paralyzed girl and the once aggressive dog who had saved a child in the park. Local newspapers wrote about their bravery, and neighbors stopped by to meet the pair. inspired by the bond they shared. Amara smiled quietly at the attention. But what mattered most to her was the quiet moments with Brutus. She knew that their connection was not about fame or recognition. It was about trust, patience, and the unspoken love between them. Brutus had grown from a fearful, aggressive dog into a loyal companion, brave and gentle because of Amara's care. And Amara had grown too, stronger, braver, and full of hope for the future. One evening, as the sun set, Amara wheeled herself to the garden. Brutus followed, lying down beside her chair. She spoke softly to him, telling him about her day, about the moments that had made her happy, and about her dreams for the future. Brutus listened, resting his head on her lap, his body warm and comforting. Amara realized something profound. She had found a true friend in Brutus, a companion who saw her heart, not her wheelchair. And Brutus had found a human who saw beyond his aggression, who understood his fear, and who loved him unconditionally. Together they had faced the world, challenged limits, and discovered the power of trust and love. As night fell, Amara whispered to Brutus, "We will have many more adventures, and we will face every challenge together. No matter what happens, we are a team." Brutus lifted his head, looked at her with his loyal eyes, and gave a soft bark, as if agreeing. The paralyzed girl and the most aggressive dog had found each other in a world full of fear and uncertainty. Through patience, courage, and unconditional love, they had transformed each other's lives. And from that day forward, they were inseparable, facing life side by side, knowing that together they could overcome anything. The story of Amara and Brutus was no longer just about a dog and a girl. It was a story of hope, of bravery, and of the extraordinary bond that can exist between a human and an animal. Their journey had started with fear and uncertainty, but it ended with love, trust, and a life filled with endless possibilities. And in every quiet moment, in every gentle touch, and in every shared adventure, Amara and Brutus reminded the world that even the most unlikely friendships could heal hearts, change lives, and leave a lasting mark on everyone who witnessed it.